Hello, everybody. Welcome to the plug. Power Living Under God. I am your host, Felicia Williams, and here on the plug, you can expect for us to give you grace in the place, hope. We are here to help transform lives through the power of God. Welcome back to those of you that have been joining us for this past month. Welcome to those of you, today is your first day. We just want you to connect with us as we have heart to heart conversations about how God helps us to be a better you, a better me, as we do life together. This particular show today is just a recap, y'all, about all the things God has done in 1 month. Yes, 1 month. And if you're here joining us, please, I'm just going to ask something simple. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. And if you can hear me, if you can just put a letter in the chat just so that we'll know that you can hear me. Thank you to the team, Black Man Unfiltered. We here are absolutely just grateful that you've joined us. Well, I'm excited today because I wanted to recap what God has been doing here on the plug, not just here on this YouTube channel, but see, we get together on the YouTube channel to chat and talk and ask questions and comment, give feedback. But it's when we're not on the YouTube channel, we're out in the community, in our families, um, in businesses, in churches, doing the work, connecting with the people. So today we're just going to recap what has transpired here on the plug. We opened up in the beginning of January 5th to be exact, which that number 5 is significant to me because 5 stands for grace. And you will often see a running at the bottom of the screen that you can donate. Start, $5, whatever God puts on your heart. But the donation of 5 has gone a long way since January the 5th because we have put your $5 to work. And I always think it's important to share where your money go because I know we want to know where our money go, which is rightfully so. So since we started January the 5th till today, here's January the 26th, so many things that have happened. One of the things that has happened, we've been able to help a young adult, 25 years old, living in her car, come from Memphis, Tennessee, and she was homeless. So the plug got with another organization to help get her housing. Yes, your 5 is going far. So I just always want to take time to pause for the cause to let you know it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. We're not just talking about it here at the plug, we're being about it. So actually, our first um show was we talked about the art of parenting. And we came on with this. You see this blank canvas? It was blank. And we just talked about how we all start with a blank, like as a blank canvas. Parenting, we started with this, a blank canvas. We didn't know what to do. Just like I'm sharing with you about the young lady, she is not a parent, but her parent is alive, and her parent just didn't know what do you do with a young adult who's deciding, look, I'm going on anyhow to do great things, and ended up being homeless. But without all the details, we were able to help her because she needed help. She needed assistance. And so here on the plug, it's very important that I help you understand that we all in some place get to a place we don't know what we're doing, but we can pray to God and God helps us. And we start out today. You woke up with your canvas was like this, mine was like this, because we wake up with brand new mercy. So Parenting is a work of art. Why? Because children are a masterpiece. You and I were children once upon a time. We too are God's masterpieces. So our first show was just about parenting as an art, seeing it in a different perspective. Hello, all of you who are joining us. Diane and Florence, hello. Um, so parenting, when we see it from a different perspective, I believe we'll begin to act differently, move differently, respond differently instead of reacting. That was our first show. And of course, you can always go back, and I would encourage you to do that. Share it with somebody, but go back when you enter or encounter an experience as a parent, and you need to be reminded that your children are masterpieces. But better yet, that you are a masterpiece. Yes, we're not negating here on the plug that we don't have difficult times, that we don't have things that we experience that cause us heartbreak, disappointment. The struggle is real. But here on the plug, we put God above our struggles. We put God above our disappointments. We pray, much power. Little prayer, little power. No prayer, no power. And you need the power of God to navigate through the stages of life. We also, in our second session, remember this is a recap. So I'm just kind of, those of you that didn't get an opportunity to join us and connect with us, just kind of give you an overview of what this month has brought for the plug. The second session, the second show, we talked about parenting our parents. That show was very touching. We got a lot of feedback. Parenting our parents, something that we don't often talk about, but we realize we have to have those conversations because we owe it to our parents. Our parents loved us well, and maybe it doesn't seem that way, or you might have been in a circumstance or situation where that's not how your story goes, or that's not your narrative, but this is the truth. All of us have this in common, that we had a parent, whether good, bad, or indifferent. We had a parent, and some of us got the opportunity to be parents. And so we still need to be knowledgeable and compassionate. There was a word today that one of my dear sisters delivered, a word about being compassionate, the compassionate of Jesus. Compassion, he moved by compassion. Are we moving with compassion when we parent our parents? Are we physically touching them to say, I love you? Physically lending a helping hand to go to the grocery store? Physically, doing something, a good deed for our parents that parent us. And let me just be clear, it could very well be that your parent, for whatever reason, could have suffered mental illness, could have been, we all talk about wayward children. What about wayward parents? Maybe there was a wayward parent. Maybe there was a parent who was got overcome by addiction and wasn't able to parent well. Whatever the case may be, if you are still breathing and your parent is yet still alive and you have the opportunity to lend a helping hand, could it be that your purpose, that God so thought it befitting that you would be to your parent what you needed and maybe you didn't receive, maybe God is giving you the opportunity to be. I gave an example on one of the shows where my dad, who had an addiction, alcohol addiction, long story short, and he is deceased, passed away in 1992. I said all that to say this. My father, when he was sick, needed me. If I had depended upon child support money, depended upon or started measuring whether or not I was going to be there for him based on how many times he was there for me, then I wouldn't have gone. But because that wasn't the measuring stick or rod, I was able to be there for my father during his last days. I say that because that's important with parenting. You might be the one that need to give your parent a cup of cold water during your parents' last days. Would you be able to do that? Parenting our parents. So I think that's important. That was our second show. And from our second show, people were commenting and talking about how they were struggling with parenting their parents because they had parents who were ill, parents who had dementia, parents who had Alzheimer, parents who were on hospice. We had a lot of feedback after that second show, which led us to the third show, which was parenting parents through hospice and disabilities. And we had some special guests, and our special guest, Mr. Bennett and Freezy, they were our special guests, two gentlemen who had journeyed through parenting their parents while their parents were not able to do that for themselves. Those were some very moving testimonies, and we got great feedback from those testimonies. And I still am so grateful for those gentlemen sharing their testimonies with us. It was so intriguing because oftentimes you don't see men sharing their stories or even think about men being there for their mothers or their fathers. And they talked about how it was difficult having to change their parent during difficult times during this journey. So again, I just wanted today to recap. It was so rich with real life testimonies, authentic and transparent vulnerability here on the plug. And what happened when those gentlemen shared with us from that, I got a call from one of my former students who is experiencing being with his mother during this time. His mother is on hospice. Just to show you how connections, how divine connections work. If we would just open up and have conversations and be transparent and be loving and kind while we're doing it. But your story is not just for you. Your story is for others. We're overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So, those were three amazing shows about parenting and another way to look at our parenting and not to see parenting as, oh my God. But there are times that we see it as a burden because it very well can be. But just to know that we're here to support you. And we gave some resources that in this community, in our communities that we live in, there's so many resources for parents and parents, support groups. And we're here, want you to know that we're here to support you on the journey. The world we live in is experiencing a whole lot of things moving swiftly. Changes are being made. But in these times that the world is turning, as the world turns, as the young become restless, there is hope. God is our hope. It's not cliche-ish. Many of these stories that were told, the gentleman even shared, they couldn't have done it without God. Their relationship with God, that's important. If we want to know how to navigate and move through these times as a parent, as an individual, as a people, as a community, as a family, listen. God is our answer. God has always been our answer, and God is our hope. And so, with that being said, we want to take the time to ask our listeners, is there anything that stood out to you, those of you that joined us, anything that stood out to you in those last three shows? Or is there anything you would like for us to have an open conversation about in the next upcoming months? We are open for discussion, heart to heart. And then we're open to take what we're talking about, and our faith that has feet. We're going to move about, and we're going to do something about the things that we talk about. How can we apply it to our lives? Becoming better parents, better people. But then how can we go out in our community and help? That's what the plug is about. Hello, Katrina. So we want to make certain that you are plugged in, and thank you for plugging in. I think parenting is a very um, timely topic. We're going to get so much into parenting our children because that's uh, my heart. Because sometimes as parents, we think we're doing it right, but are we going to be open enough to hear how can we make adjustments? This is not a show where we are judging or being critical, but what we are doing and what we will do is address all the elephants in the room. What we will do is address anything where we can make adjustment to be better. We want to become better. We don't want to stay where we are. We want to become better because that's the God we serve. Come as you are, but God wants us to not stay how we came, but to receive his grace and become better. Here's a question in the chat. What do you do when you have siblings that are divided about what to do with their parents? What do you do when you have siblings that are divided about what to do with their parents? And that's a good question, Diane. Thank you for that question. That question came up, I believe it was in the second show when parents and our parents, and we talked about siblings having to make decisions. And Mr. Bennett and Freezy kind of touched on it too. They talked about how when one of your siblings is not capable or don't have the capacity to do it, then you have to make an executive decision. But this question, if you're divided, so let's create a scenario. If there are two siblings and there's a mother or father who is in need of support, and the two siblings disagree on what to do with the parent. Well, one thing I'm going to say first and foremost, there's going to be a need for the siblings to come to some kind of consensus, because as siblings going back and forth, whatever that need is for that parent will be ongoing until they come to some consensus. So then we must ask, what's more important here? It may be more important that one or the other take a back seat if that has to happen for them to move forward in giving the parent the support they need. Because to keep going back and forth and forward and back, and the parent's need is still sitting on the table, so to speak, we're doing a disservice to our parent. And then let's be specific. It really will depend upon what's the argument. And if one or the other has the means, resources to support, most likely you're going to have to go with the decision of that sibling. Because one thing about it, we talked about this in several, and probably some of the shows that keep overlapping, which is a good thing. It just means that there's some validity in what we're talking about. Because one of the things is for sure that the siblings love the parent. Well, I say for sure because we don't, hopefully. They both love the parent, but in this moment, we have to decide, and I believe I made an example of this. If it was children, we're going to do what's best for kids. If it's a parent, do what's best for the parent. We're going to have to put our feelings aside, and we're going to have to do what's best for mama. What's best for daddy? What's best for uncle or auntie if it's in that kind of situation? Great question. But that would be my advice. Here's a, hey, Mary from Humble, Texas. Here's another question. Thank you, Diane, for that question. Another question, co-parenting is a good topic. How do we parent together? Okay, we're going to put that down. Co-parenting is a good topic. How do you parent together? That's one of our topics for upcoming February, because we're going to be talking about the love of parents and how that looks, what that looks like, what love got to do with it from the parenting perspective. So we are taking that down. The people in the back are taking that down. Thank you. We encourage your feedback. We encourage it. It's not just us. We want to be connected to the community, to our listeners. We are listening to you. So we will write that down. Thank you. Here's another question. Thank you for your engagement in the comments. Grandparents parenting their grandchildren and great grandchildren. All right, here's another topic of discussion. Grandparents parenting their grandchildren and great grandchildren. And yes, that is a hot topic because I have seen that. And if you're in the educational system, you have seen that. And that is on the horizon. More reason why we should give compassion to our parents who are parenting their grandchildren. I'm gonna give this little tidbit just for right now. I won't go into it because we're gonna have that as a whole topic. But this is what I say to that. There are situations and scenarios where the grandparent had no choice. It was either their grandchildren go into the system or they keep them. Of course, the grandparent did what? They kept their grandchildren. I think that case scenario, I get it. That's where the community, we, family and friends get together, church, whomever, because we're going to talk about the village still lives. It just looks different. We create the village. So in that scenario, we should support the grandparent. But now, on the other hand, I've witnessed grandparents raising their grandchildren all on the back of their children, able-bodied, doing what they want to do, living their best life, while their parents are raising their children. That, my brothers and sisters, I disagree with because that says a lot. That says what the children think of their parents. And it says that they're manipulating the situation. Now, one thing we need to understand, whether you're a parent or a child, people will manipulate you if allowed, whether you're a parent or an adult child. So if that's the situation, or if that's the case, then yes, we need to do something different. Because I believe that God, in his wisdom, there is a time and a place, Ecclesiastes 3, for everything. And I believe seasonally, there's a season for us to where we are physically able, mentally able, have the capacity to care for children. Now, when we are a certain age, I just don't believe that it was intended for us to be running around with a 3-year-old and you 80, unless you're doing that because you're enjoying your grandbaby or your great grandbaby or your great great grandbaby. Not that an 80-year-old is taking care of 5 and 6 children. But again, hear me well. Under certain circumstances, there's case by case. That's why we can't put everything in one basket or bucket, group it all together. It's case by case. You see, I go on and that because my heart goes out to our senior saints, our seasoned saints. They in their season, they should be able to live their lives according to the season that they're in. There's a season where they were able to do the running around, and then don't add technology into y'all. We got 4-year-olds that can work this thing better than you and me, versus somebody that's 80. So to have to rear a child and deal with technology, that's information overload. Okay. Here's another question. How do you parent adult children? I think somebody else said the same thing. Yes. How do you parent adult children? Now, I have some experience in that one because I have 3 adult children. And it has not always been easy. To be honest, I had to do a self-reflection. There were some situations sometimes where I had to look in the mirror myself and say, okay, because I believe what happens sometimes, I was parenting them. They were young adults, but I was parenting them as though they were still these school age children. Sometimes we do that unconsciously. Not that you are trying to, but because you've been a parent to these children all their lives and then they're young adults. I think what we can do as parents is once we become aware that we need to move with our kids. What that simply means is when you are a parent and your parents a 5-year-old, once they turn 8, parent them as an 8-year-old. Don't still parent them as a 5-year-old because child development, children are developing and they change. So we as parents need to change how we parent them. Going back to young adults, I believe this happened to me. I unconsciously was parenting my young adult children like they were school age children. They were not. Um, you don't get to tell young adults what to do. Ouch. And generationally, sometimes our parents will be like, "Cause I'm always your mama, I'm always your daddy." That's true, but just because you're the mother or the father doesn't give you the authority to tell your young adults what to do. So it's how we're doing, it's how we're parenting. We may need to ask, suggest, recommend, and they get to choose whether or not they accept your recommendation, whether they accept your suggestion, and then we be all right. Why? Because they're young adults. They get to choose what they're going to do. And then we can be careful with inserting ourselves in their situations, inserting ourselves in their experiences. Wait on the invitation. And I know from experience that can be very difficult, that can be very hard. And then there's a part that we need to talk about. Our young adult children should offer a little grace too. Y'all, relationships take work on both sides. Any relationship that's one-sided is dysfunctional. Even our relationship with the Lord, our relationship with God is not one-sided. If it is, then that relationship too is dysfunctional. Relationship works both ways. Yes, I know God loves me, but there's some things that God requires of me to demonstrate my love to Him. Relationship is two-way street, not one. Good questions, good comments. Don't forget, if you are so led to do so, um, donate from your heart. We are just asked simply for 5, and that 5 is just helping us to help others in our community stay plugged in. At the bottom, you'll see the Cash App. And if you don't get to comment or chat um, your ideas, your feedback, you can always reach out to me by email. That's going to be the plug lady 2020 at gmail.com. The plug lady 2020 at gmail.com. Here's someone else says fathers parenting their children, boys and girls. That's a good one too, because we often don't talk about there are dads raising their children. There are dads raising girls, combing hair and doing the whole 9. Shout out to the dads that are parenting their children. That's a topic that we can discuss and have some um, guests on to discuss what that's like. Because parenting is parenting. The responsibility is the same. whether it's the mother parenting or the father, the responsibility to love, support, and to protect, it goes both ways. Parenting. And I like to look at it like this: God is our ultimate parent. We all are different. God deals with us according to who we are, but his love for us is the same. How do we know? For God so loved the world, the entire world, that he gave his only begotten son. He loves us all, but how he deals with us is individually and based on what we and how we treat God. So when you have one or two or three or four or five, six, seven, how many other children you have, love them the same, but deal with them accordingly to who they are. Because one child's conviction is not the other child's conviction. What one child likes, the other child may not. And when you're disciplining one child, don't bring up the names of the others. And again, I was guilty of this when my children were young. And because I've learned, I'm grateful that God has given me the opportunity to pour and help somebody else along the journey because somebody helped me. But don't parent them or try not to parent them as just this one organism. Try to parent them individually. And that is not easy. That's a difficult task because you have to be intentional about based on their personalities. Let me see if there's one more on here. I see. I talked about the blended family. Somebody else talked about dad's parenting children, a single parenting. And here is I believe I think I got them, y'all. Oh, somebody gave another example what to do when you're parenting your young adult children. They said you should sit down and talk with your young adult children, and you should have rules and boundaries. The word boundaries goes so well with every one of these different types of parenting scenarios. We must have boundaries. We must have boundaries. Yes. Parenting your parents. Parenting. I hope that each of you will really think about what it means to be a parent and not to think of it as a light responsibility. God has gifted you to be a parent. Parent well. You don't know who you have in your house. It could be the next president of the United States of America. Mm-hmm. It could be anybody. We don't know. Kings and queens. We say that lightly. Literally, you don't know. So nurture your children and even parenting our parents. We owe it to them. I believe that. That's the least we can do. You can never pay your parent back. That's the thing. We can never pay them back. So the least we can do is to support them in their season life. Today, I was able to visit a nursing home. When you talk about senior saints, and a lot of the residents there don't have family. They're there, and I get the opportunity to go with some of the other ministerial and people on the ministerial staff, and we go, and it's such a blessing. But some of them don't have family. Some of them were parents, and some of them, their children have gone on passed away before them. So if you're out there locally or globally and you don't have a parent, one way to give back, if the Lord leads it up on your heart, pray about it. You could go to the nursing home and be the hands and the feet of Jesus to some other parent who doesn't have a child. Many people in nursing homes, um, family, they have no family, and they're seasoned saints. And so it's a privilege for us to go there and just to see them smile. I'm always amazed that they're in wheelchairs, but they're smiling. They can't get up. One sister, she can't get up, but she smiles. And so I think it's our due diligence to give back to the parents of others who may not have children. It's just the right thing to do because, like I said before, the plug wants to offer grace because grace has been offered to me. Grace has been offered to you. So let us give grace and give hope in the area of parenting because it's so minimized sometimes. They're forgotten sometimes because they may not be as astute as we are in some of the things, technology, or even just moving about, being mobile. But here's our reality. How do we want somebody to treat us if we get to the ages that many of them have made, whether that's 70 or 80 or 90? How do we want to be treated? Let us now begin to treat our parents that way if we have the privilege to do that, or treat our aunts and our uncles or somebody else's parent who doesn't have a child. Parenting will pay off after a while. Whether we're a young parent or an older parent, parenting our parents, parenting will pay off after a while. The ultimate parent has been our model. God parents us all. And I can say this, God has done well with parenting us, even when we have not done well as being children of the Most High God. So the least we could do is show some compassion and love to our parents and those of others as well. Well, friends, I just wanted this show to be a recap, to not move too fast, to pause and just kind of digest what has happened in January, to shed light in how God can do great, marvelous things with a little bit. If you put your little in the hands of God, God can multiply it. He has indeed multiplied the inspiration and encouragement, the donations as well here on the plug. And I'm grateful. The connections God has multiplied. And so today I just wanted to say thank you to those of you who are new, those of you that continue to support, and to the amazing new family that I have received through Black Man Unfiltered. The plug just wants to say thank you. And so I want to charge each of you to rearrange, change, maintain your life through the power of God. As we do life together, we will be back on the second and fourth Sundays. We're working to do second and fourth to give us just some more time to go out in the community. During the weeks that we're not on, we'll be in the community, but we'll do some replays. But listen, by all means, make certain that you connect with me about what you are doing. How are you plugging into the power? What are you doing as you've learned new information about parenting? How are you taking this information and is it valuable to you? Let me know. The plug wants to know. Remember, you can email me at thepluglady2020 at gmail.com. Thepluglady2020 at gmail.com. And I look forward to having heart-to-heart conversations with you. There will be guests on the show to give us insight, resources. And I'm going to always come back toward the end of the month to talk about what did we do? Because we can talk to talk, but we want to talk it and walk it. We want to walk it like we talk it. We want our audio to match our video because we know that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly more than we can ask or think, according to the power that worketh in you and worketh in me. Well, thank each and every one of you for showing up. Hey, Yolanda. Hey, Yolanda. Yeah, I'm excited about next month. We're doing a great big show about love and parenting. It's going to be good. Please turn on your notifications. Hit your like button if you have not. Subscribe if you have not. And that's all I ask. But I'm going to ask this last thing too, though. Pray. If you pray, if you pray, I already know God is going to do what only God can do. Well, we've come into a close and we appreciate each and every one of you. There actually is no me without you. I can't do it without you. I can't do it without God, but I can't do it without you because you do know God used people. Thank you again. I am Felicia Williams, the plug. Power living under God. Until next time, stay plugged into the power. Thank you, Aunt Brenda. Thank you, Yolanda, Diane, Mary, Florence, aka Mama Katrina, Datrin. Hello, the beat by Low. Thank you. I appreciate that. Some of y'all have these alias names, and I don't know who you are until you come back and tell me. But I understand. Or should I say these stage names? I get it because I'm the plug. I get it.